to the screen. Thank you for recording, Adrienne. All right, so welcome. 75 Her. If you hear my cat in the background, so sorry, but we are real beings with real lives and real pets. So welcome and thank you all for joining Create Her Fest today. And thank you all so much for joining 75 Her for those who registered for the overall program. Once again, you don't necessarily need to participate in every phase of the program to participate in these workshops. So I'm really happy that you all are here. This is a safe and intentional space for women and just gender expansive folks and allies to learn, experiment, and honestly just be honest about where you are in your journey. This is going to be, a very cozy, I like to call it a living room vibe. So Creator Fest exists to bridge the gender gap in tech through hands-on training in AI, AR, VR, blockchain, and all kinds of emerging technologies. So our overall goal is that you leave with something that you can actually use. So, a new tool, framework, programming language, an artifact, a project, a product, an artifact that kind of helps support your next move. Before we dive in, quick introduction, especially for those who may not be familiar with my face, may not be familiar with my co-founder's face, just a quick intro so you know who's holding space with you today. My name is Darlise Calix, serial technologist, software engineer, but also co-founder of Create Her Fest. My work, I would say, sits at the intersection of tech, community, and just career growth. So designing spaces like this, where we as women, as people in these spaces can kind of move from curiosity to confidence through actual real life projects. I'm really big on just build the stuff, right? So I'll be your host for today, keeping an eye on time, questions, making sure you have what you need. So feel free to hit me up in the chat, but I'll pass it over to my co-founder, Adrienne, to introduce herself really quickly before we hop in.
Of course. And I definitely want to get right to our speaker today. Sheena is going to be amazing, but I'm glad to be able to join you guys. My name is Adrienne Guy, computer engineer, emerging tech aficionado. I'm always going to try to break the thing because why not? That's also how we learn how things work and how you can put them back together. Seriously, security, it's just life. I'm really excited to have you guys join us just for this kickoff, just for this space, just to kind of like grow and spend the next 75 days together. We're actually counting down from that too. And I want to just jump into our workshop. If you guys need any help, if you have any questions, need things reiterated, resources shared, you can look to me. And also if you have any issues like, joining or like hearing and things like that, I can help you troubleshoot in the background too. So glad to get into it, and I'll give it to Sheena.
Awesome. All right.
Oh, okay. Thanks, everybody. Hey, everyone. Hope everyone's having a great day today. I know some of you have mentioned it's a little bit chilly, so hopefully today's presentation is something that you'll enjoy. This is going to be less techy, but confidence is something that we all go through, especially in tech. Especially for women, if you look at the stats, there's still a huge gap when it comes to women in tech, women in the AI space, in every part of tech, especially AI. There's a lot of women out there who still hesitate to use it, but I think it's a great tool to use, especially nowadays. And we're also now having a gap on that, and it's really important to embrace it because we end up falling behind again. And of course, that's not what I want for any of us. I want us to succeed. I want us to level up. I want us to utilize these tools to make things better for ourselves and for everybody else. So I just want to make sure if you guys can see my screen. Can you guys see my screen? Awesome. Got a thumbs up. Thank you. When I do the full screen, I can't really see it. So I'm gonna just go back to full screen. So today's presentation is called Making Your Confidence Visible, Authentic Leadership for Bold Women Creators. So who's a bold woman creator today? Put a 1 on the chat, would love to see that. So why this session matters, confidence isn't a personality trait, it's a leadership skill. This is something that we can teach ourselves. It's like a muscle that we build on every single day. A lot of people think that confidence is something that we have inside us. It's something that we can build day in and day out, especially in tech. when there's challenges that arises, confidence is going to help us keep moving forward. So there's many talented women who know they're capable but hesitate to speak up, do great work but stay unseen, wait for permission instead of claiming space. So if you've ever gone through that, just share in the chat. I've definitely gone through that, especially that hesitation to speak up, waiting for permission. I grew up in a culture where I was always told to um, stay in the background, never make any noise, do as you're told, and that really hasn't done anything good for me. And so for me, this is why visibility is important, showing up is important. I want you to be seen in the right spaces. I want your work to be seen in the right spaces. I want you to be seen as that leader, especially in tech, because we definitely need more women out there, so we can bridge the gap as well. So this session is about changing that intentionally. So, it's a new year, it's 2026. Being visible can be scary. I totally get that. I've been there as well. It's not easy, but it's also necessary to create the representation that we want. The more we show up, the more other women and other little girls can realize they can do things in tech. They can build robots, they can create new AI apps, they can create VR things, VR apps or VR tech. Anything's truly possible. I remember last year I spoke at a tech conference for girls. I think they were like grades 6 to 8 and maybe high school. And I loved it because I love seeing, girls sharing what they wanted to do. Like there was one little girl who said, I want to build robots when I grow up. And I think that's amazing to hear things like that. I never thought I would ever do this. Growing up, I never thought, I wanted to write a book, speak, put myself out there. I actually didn't really know what I wanted to do, but when I saw, just that girl saying how much she wanted to do that, I think that's amazing. And she probably wouldn't have done that if there wasn't people before her to show her what's possible. So this is why sessions like these are so important. I know sometimes you can get super into like tech, but confidence also plays a huge part in our journey as well. So here's what we're doing today. In this workshop, you will clarify how you want to be seen and known, strengthen your voice and leadership presence, learn how visibility actually works strategically, not loudly, create tools you can immediately use today, not someday. And this is something that's practical, not performative. So this is something that you can take even as soon as today and just run with it, right? Nothing happens if you don't take action. Being able to take action is how you get the results. And I know sometimes it's scary to take action because we're afraid to make mistakes. We want things to be perfect, but if you keep waiting for that perfection, nothing ever happens. So one thing I like sharing is in my latest book, Bridging the Confidence Gap, I share this one strategy called ready, fire, aim. So, start before you're ready, take action, and course correct as you go. And that's how you start getting the results that you want. It's not going to be perfect. It's going to be messy, but that's okay. That's all part of life. If you see some of the most influential people in the world, they make a lot, they do this, they do the ready, fire, aim. They just take action and figure things out as they go. And that's how they're able to get to where they are today. So I'll be sharing a framework that I use, that I share with in a lot of talks for organizations in different industries. So I'm going to introduce you the visible framework. So this is a framework that I've created. It's confidence becomes sustainable when it's structured, right? When we have a framework, when we know how to utilize it, it helps us. And the framework consists of 7 pillars based on the word visible, and each letter represents a pillar. So V is for voice, I is for identity, S is for spotlight, I is for inner work, B is for belief, L is for leverage, E is for elevation. So this framework helps you lead with clarity, not hesitation. And this framework helps you also learn to do the inner and outer work, because when it comes to confidence, you need both, right? You need to work from the inside out. You need to work on your mindset, which is the most powerful thing. And we're going to go through each letter. So I hope you guys are ready, and I hope you'll enjoy this framework. So first off, V is for voice, use your voice matters before you feel ready. Voice is about speaking with clarity, not perfection, trusting your perspective, naming your expertise without over explaining. So I know sometimes it's not always easy to speak up, right? We get scared. I've spoken to so many people, especially women, who are just afraid to put their hand up and share an idea because they're afraid that someone might think it's stupid or that it's a bad idea. But really, the person beside them has just mentioned the same exact idea and was praised for it. And I see this time and time again. And I don't want this to happen to you. I want you to be able to share it, even if you think it might sound ridiculous, you'd be surprised how many people might tell you the total opposite. And so speaking up is important, speaking your voice, sharing your truth, because if you don't, nothing happens, right? Staying silent doesn't help us. It does us a disservice for us and for others, because especially if we want to create the change that we want, if we want more women in tech, it is important to speak up. It is important to share our voice. And I know it can be scary, but if you take that first step, it can help you build that confidence to keep moving forward. And also being in a safe space like this where you feel supported, where you're not alone, that also helps you as well, right? I think a lot of us feel like we have to do everything ourselves, or that confidence is a journey that we have to take on our own, when it's the total opposite. Having support is important. Having someone who can, tell you, I have your back, don't worry, you got this, that can help you out so much you don't even realize. So, here's a question that I wanted to ask you. Where do you hold back, even when you know the answer? So think about, where do you hold back? Is it from when you were growing up? A lot of us, in school, sometimes we were afraid to put our hands up because we were afraid the other kids at school might laugh at us if we had a stupid answer. And people don't realize sometimes things that happen in our childhood can also go into our adult life, or maybe it's your culture, right? For me, like, being Asian, growing up in Asian culture, like I mentioned, we were taught to stay in the background, never make any noise, do as you're told. If we speak up, we were too much. So there were so many things that hindered us from speaking up, that kept us, holding us back from moving forward, sharing our voice, speaking our truth. It took a lot out of me to get to where I am today, and really had to unlearn a lot of things from my own culture. So again, where do you hold back even when you know the answer? So feel free to take a moment now, or ask a question. You can do it later. But yeah, just kind of think about that. So here's an exercise that you can do. This is a confidence statement. So you can create a confidence statement you can use for bios, introductions, pitches. Here's a formula that you can use. So it's I help, and then whoever you're helping do whatever it is you're doing so they can have whatever impact and result that you have. So I'll give you about 2 minutes to kind of formulate this, and I would love to see it in the chat. So I'm just gonna exit the full screen and give you guys about 2 minutes to do this exercise. And I'll time it now, and in 2 minutes I'll check the chat.
Awesome. I'll play some music in the background.
Awesome. Oh, I love that there's a timer.
Oh, life will be just you believe in you. Oh, life will be just you believe in you. Oh, life will be just you believe in you.
Yeah, my bad. Hold on.
If you want, we can add another minute since not everybody saw the screen.
Yeah, can we reshare the screen? I realized.
All good.
I'll add some time to the timer as well.
All right, I think we have time's up. So I'm gonna go through the chat and see who was able to share what they do. So Apolnia, I hope I said that right. If not, please let me know. Apologize in advance. I help those who feel stuck to find the resources to change their lives. I love that. Priscilla, I help visionary entrepreneurs get their focus with systems so they can drive strategic action in their business. Friend Julie, I hope I said that right. I help tech founders think more clinically so they can have a product that clinicians would want to use. And then Janelle, I help medical staff through technical issues so that they can focus on taking care of our communities. I am loving all these statements. Camille, I help women realize their full potential so that they can pursue opportunities without self-rejecting. Sarah, I help brands measure, produce health so they can identify measurable opportunities for growth and optimization. And Rama, I hope I said that right. I help SMEs to make use of AI and automation tools so they can have a competitive advantage. Natisha, I help value-based organizations and founders leverage their data so they can scale their impact. Oh, and it was product help. So this is great. I love it. You know, it's great that everyone's able to do this, and this is something that you can always tweak around, right? And especially now with AI, you know, you can also take this and ask to like, give me 10 different examples, right? I love utilizing AI. You know, it just helps me kind of like mind dump and kind of like have it be my sounding board, right? Be able to put ideas in and just kind of have like that back and forth. Tiffany, I help educators integrate their software tools to be more effective in serving their community. So this is great. And I was also reading some of the chats from earlier while the time while you guys were doing the exercise. And, you know, I love that you were able to share some of the things. Someone mentioned that Haitian culture was kind of similar to Asian culture. People mentioning, you know, they hesitate, they double check. This is something we all go through, and I think being able to share those is okay, because sometimes we don't even have an outlet to share some of the things that we're going through. And you know, like as Darlise mentioned, this is a safe space for all of us to do that. Adrian, I help builders explore how trust, identity, and culture impact emerging tech. So we design systems that serve people and not the other way around. This is awesome. So congrats everybody. Give yourselves, there's emoji. I'm not sure there, I think we can do emojis on, yes, thank you. I rarely use Google Meets, so I wasn't sure if it's emojis, but I'm glad there is. And I think there was a couple more. Reka, I hope I said that right. I help individuals in tech, especially women, find mentorship, belonging, and growth opportunities so they can build confidence, advance their careers, and succeed. I help teams and organizations deliver complex technology initiatives by translating strategy into clear, actionable execution. So well done, everybody. This was great. I'm glad everyone enjoyed this exercise, and I will move on to the next slide. So I'm going to go back to sharing my screen, and then yeah, just feel free to share anything in the chat. I'll do my best to check it out either in between or maybe after. So I is for identity. Visibility without identity creates burnout. So identity is who you are when no one is watching, what you stand for, what you will and won't compromise. So leadership starts with self-definition. So a lot of us, we get tied to our titles, right? And sometimes we forget who we are outside of those titles. And it's important to really show up as who you are. And I know we've been told to be authentic. Authenticity is important. And it really is, as cheesy as it may sound, or how many times you've heard about it. People know, like, and trust you because of who you truly are. So your lived experiences, how you were brought up, all those things take into account to your identity, right? Why do we gravitate to people in the media that we can relate to? Is because they're able to show up who they are, but they're able to understand who they are, what their real identity is, and be able to show it. So, even if it means being vulnerable, sharing your struggles, that's all part of our identity. It's all part of our journey. And it's important to do that. Sometimes when we see something that's picture perfect, we can't relate to that because they're not really showing up they're not really showing us who they really are. They're just showing us this like surface level um, picture or situation, not realizing sometimes they're going through a lot of things behind closed doors and we don't even know it, right? And I'm not saying everyone is like that, but most people that we see, especially on social media, right? You think, oh, they have the perfect family, the perfect life, not realizing things are coming crashing down in the background. So this is why it is important to be able to show up as who you truly are. Be able to share your wins, your losses, some of the things you've been going through, being able to share your vulnerability. A lot of people think being vulnerable is a weakness when it can be our greatest strength. And we don't always have to be strong, right? There's going to be days where we won't be strong. There's going to be days where it's going to suck, and that's totally okay because it's life. It's not always going to be great. It's like a roller coaster. It's up and down. It's upside down. There's twists and turns, and being able to show up who we are truly will help us push through that. So, every time you're trying to put a mask on in front of everybody, it is exhausting, right? Because you're trying to be somebody else when you realize that's not who you truly are. And I've seen that time and time again. So think about it, think about who you are when no one's watching, what you stand for, what you will and will not compromise, because leadership starts with self-definition. And here's a leadership identity map. So here's the prompt. You could screenshot this or write it down, but start writing. My strengths are, share some of the strengths that you have. My lived experience shaped me by, and I want to be known for. So what do you want to be known for? A lot of us want to be able to help everybody, but helping everybody helps nobody. So, think about, what do you want to be known for? Do you want to be known for what you wrote in your confidence statement, right? And that's totally okay. Do you want something different? There's a lot of things you can think about, but this becomes the foundation of your leadership story. Everything starts with a foundation. And when you have a clear foundation, you're able to step out with confidence, right? And this is why having that, showing up as your true self, being able to work on your identity really helps you move forward in your own careers. S is for spotlight. Visibility isn't about being everywhere, it's about being strategic. A lot of people think in order to be visible, you have to be everything everywhere all at once, when really it's about showing up in the spaces that matter, right? So spotlight means choosing rooms that match your values, positioning your expertise intentionally, letting your work be seen without apologizing. This is the most important because for me, especially in Asian culture, we were always taught that if you work hard, your results would speak for itself, when really that's not true. Sometimes you're just always seen as a hard worker and you never you never get to the next level. And so this is why spotlight is important. This is why sharing your work, sharing your achievements is so important. Because if you do the work and you don't talk about it, no one is going to know that it came from you. And the one thing that I don't want for you is that someone else takes the spotlight for your work, claiming it as theirs. So this is why it's so important to share your work, to put yourself out there, to let everyone know what you've been able to accomplish, because that's how people can see, oh, I can't believe this is so and so did this and so did that. I know self-promotion seem scary, especially for women. We've been taught that it's tacky, it's too much, it's not ladylike. But self-reflection for me is a leadership skill. It helps you learn to advocate for yourself. It helps you to show up, to show your work, to show others what's possible. And if you see self-promotion as a leadership skill, as a responsibility to show up, to be that representation, it will not feel like that, right? And I know it's still uncomfortable, believe me. I still get very uncomfortable when I share my achievements, when I share anything I do. But I also understand that if I don't put myself out there, other women will still feel like they need permission to share what they're doing, to share their products and services. So when they see someone like me, just showing up, showing them what I've been able to accomplish, it helps them also take that step forward. So if there's anything that, out of this being in the spotlight, right? And being visible. Again, you don't have to be in every single room. It's about just being in the right rooms, being able to do this with intention, with purpose, with alignment. And when you are able to do that, it will feel light, it will feel good. And again, be okay to let your work be seen, be okay to share those achievements, be okay to take ownership of your own work, right? Don't hide, don't let others take credit for you, or take that credit away from you, because that's the last thing that I want for you. You've done the work, you put so much effort and energy into it, and the last thing I want is for someone to claim that it's theirs. So, starting today, be okay to be in that spotlight, even if it's scary. I is for inner work. So inner work keeps visibility sustainable. This shows up when imposter syndrome appears after success. You second guess your belonging. You feel pressure to constantly prove yourself. So if you've ever gone through this, feel free to share in the chat. I know I have. I know imposter syndrome is something a lot of women go through. In fact, there was a stat that mentioned like 74% of women in the workplace go through imposter syndrome. And, even in my latest book, I have a whole chapter on imposter syndrome, because I know how imposter syndrome can take a toll on us. And really, sometimes it helps us doubt ourselves and brings our value down. But I want you to start utilizing imposter syndrome as something positive. Use it as a sign that you're leveling up, you're taking things to the next level. Because when you're taking things to the next level, when you're going up, it's gonna feel uncomfortable. It's gonna feel awkward. You're gonna have those thoughts in your head. So just remember that you're just taking it to the next level, and it's normal to feel all this. Again, you second guess your belonging. We've all been through there, right? I mean, I moved to Toronto from the Philippines when I was 7. So for me, it was a big culture shock, seeing different cultures and things like that. But I always felt like I didn't belong, right? Because I didn't look a certain way. I didn't have blonde hair or blue eyes. And I've always felt like I needed to be that way to show up, to feel like I belong. I felt that being different was a liability instead of something to celebrate. But, back then we didn't have representation, right? Growing up in the 90s, like it was, I hardly saw anybody in the media that looked like me. And so this is why I do the work that I do, because it's so important. And even if you look at the numbers of, especially women of color in tech, the numbers are still very small, right? So this is why doing the inner work, being able to work on our mindset is so important. And then you feel pressure to constantly prove yourself. This is something that I definitely go through, especially like being Asian, it's like we're always going after the next thing. It's like you graduate school, you get a job, you take it to what's the next thing, and what's the next thing? It's like it's never enough. And that that gets exhausting, right? It's important to also just learn you're more than enough. You don't need to prove anything to anybody. You are more than capable. You've got this. And it takes a lot of inner work to do that, right? So visibility without inner work leads to burnout. Visibility with inner work leads to longevity. So it's important to work on your mindset, whether it's reading books, attending sessions like this, listening to podcasts, things that will train your brain, right? People don't realize our brain is like a computer hardware. So if you feed it with good stuff, it's going to work properly. But if you put a virus in it, guess what happens when you put when a virus is in your computer? There's pop-ups everywhere. Your computer's out of whack. It's not working well. Sometimes your files are lost. And so you have to treat your brain that way. So feeding it with good things so that even when times are tough, you are mentally prepared for it, right? And, that also means there could be trauma in your life that's stopping you from moving forward. And it's also important to work through that, because if you don't work through that, you won't be able to show up as your best self. And this is so important to do, because our traumas, if we don't heal it properly, it's going to control us. I'll share a story with you. In the Philippines, I actually failed kindergarten for coloring outside the lines of a photo. And I know that sounds wild, but this is a true story. I was given a photo to color within the lines. I couldn't color within the lines. I colored outside the lines. They gave me a brand new photo to color in, did the same thing, and I failed kindergarten. So I had to move to another school to redo kindergarten all over again. And I didn't, at 5 years old, you don't know any better, right? You've never heard of trauma, you don't know what's going on. But I realized that actually went on to my adult life. So I felt like everything that I touched, I just assumed I was an instant failure. And it wasn't until I went to a personal development seminar where I finally realized I felt like that, because in kindergarten, I failed, right? I failed for coloring outside the lines. I was told I was a failure because I didn't follow the rules. I stepped out of that line, when really, if I did the proper work, me coloring outside the lines was a sign that I was always meant to do something different. So, you know, maybe there's something that you might be dealing with. I'm not sure, but that could be something. And sometimes we're not even aware of our traumas. That's why sometimes asking the right questions will give you the right answers. And then also, we're not only carrying our own traumas, we're also carrying the traumas of our parents, grandparents, and so on. Intergenerational trauma is very prevalent, and they say it goes down 4 generations deep. I think for me, being Asian, it goes way deeper, just because there's been just centuries of like passing the same thing over and over again. So, um, again, this is all part of your journey, being able to be aware of all these things and how we can work through them. So think about the inner work that you want to start doing, whether even just meditating or just taking a walk to clear your head, even talking to professional help. There's no shame in all that. Your mindset is so powerful, right? Because this work is all about, it's like the 80-20 rule. It's 80% mindset and 20% action. When you have your mindset right, when you do the inner work, the action part will be a lot easier to do. So, yeah. So B is for belief. Belief shapes behavior. If you believe you're not ready, you're going to delay yourself. If you believe you'll be judged, you'll start shrinking yourself. If you feel like you don't belong, you disengage. So we don't wait for belief, we build it through action. So I know it's we doubt ourselves, right? Or we feel like we're not good enough, or sometimes we don't even believe in our own capabilities. But belief is really important, because without that belief, you're not going to go out there and take the first step. And believing in yourself doesn't mean you have to know everything. You just have to know you can figure this out as you go. That's why I share that ready, fire, aim. Just start before you're ready, take action, course correct as you go. The more you keep doing that, the less you overthink and the more you take action. I know most women tend to overthink, myself included. And there's studies where they mention that women have like 1,000 more thoughts in their head than men, which prompts us to overthink more. And sometimes overthinking delays our own success. So when we overthink we're not good enough, we're going to get judged, or we feel like we don't belong, that hinders us. That stops us from taking even that first step. And this is why building that belief, building on your mindset, building the inner work will help you build your belief to do that, and being able to the ready, fire, aim, just taking action, course correct as you go, that will help you realize what you're capable of. Being able to do that, I've realized I was able to accomplish a lot more than just waiting for that perfect moment. And so I want you to realize, you're more than enough. You got this. Yeah, build on that belief every single day, because that belief is a starting point to your confidence journey to help you take that first step, to take that action, to even change this thinking. Instead of thinking I'm not ready, think you're more than ready. Just build on that every single day, because it does shape how we are, how we act, what we think. It builds on a lot of things. So this is really important for me, because I know a lot of people still hesitate, still think they're not good enough, or don't believe in themselves. But you're here today because I know you're more than capable. You have what it takes to get there. It's not going to be perfect. It's going to be messy, but it's totally okay. It'll be worth the ride. So L is for leverage. Confidence grows faster with support. So like I mentioned before, you don't have to do this alone. Having support is important. You're here for a reason, because you want to find a group that you can lean on. You can find new people in this workshop. Maybe you guys can connect with each other after this, but this is something that we can do together, right? We don't have to be the superwoman of everything. Being able to utilize tools, support to leverage what we do will make things a lot easier, especially like, AI is on the rise right now, and AI is a technology that's going to be here to stay, right? And as I mentioned, there's now a huge gap when it comes to men and women utilizing AI. And when women don't embrace utilizing AI, we're going to fall behind again. And I know there's a lot of misconceptions about AI. It's a tool like everything else. If you utilize it for good, good things will come out. It's kind of like the internet, right? When the internet came out, everybody didn't know what it was. Everyone was scared to use it. But look where the internet has brought us. Now I can talk to you from anywhere, right? You can just comfort of your own home listening to this, instead of traveling how many miles to listen to a workshop like this. So that's why leverage is so important. And so what does that leverage look like? Using your network intentionally, right? Think of who you know. Sometimes you're one connection away from that opportunity that you've been looking for. Asking for opportunities instead of hoping, right? A lot of us hope, things will come to us, right? And that's not it happens maybe once in a blue moon, but it's important to take action first, to make the first move, to go for those opportunities, to knock on those doors. And when those doors close on you, build your own door and create opportunities. But don't be afraid to ask, right? You'd be surprised what outcome will come out. Borrowing belief until yours catches up. So leverage is about utilizing your network, utilizing tools, not have to do this alone. And even today, you're in a safe space, you're in good hands, you're in a community where you're going to feel supportive, where if you ask a question or ask for opportunities, you might be surprised what you can come up with. So again, you don't need to do this alone. You don't have to be the superwoman of everything, because that gets exhausting. You're going to get burnt out, and then your energy level goes down, your confidence level goes down. I want you to work intentionally, work smarter, um, and be able to leverage it for sure. So E is for elevation. Elevation is confidence in motion. So elevation means taking aligned action consistently, expanding influence without losing yourself, turning confidence into real world impact. Leadership isn't a title, it's how you show up daily. And elevation is also, as you rise up in your own leadership, bring others with you, right? Being able to make the changes that we want is being able to bring others with us, walk side by side. That's what leadership is all about, right? Being able to bring others with us in this journey. This is so important, because if we want more women in leadership, we have to bring more women with us, right? I know there's instances where there are women in leadership roles where, they block other women. Unfortunately, this is a real world thing, right? And that doesn't help any of us. Sometimes, um, you know, women kind of, they kind of lock each other out of these spaces. And it's unfortunate that we go through this. We have to be aware that help us, it hinders us, it loses more women in leadership roles. So this is why elevation is important. This is why it's important to bring others with us in this journey. I hear a lot of women who seek mentorship, get mentorship, but they always mention that it only goes up to the mentorship, nothing happens after. So there's mentorship and also sponsorship, helping those women to get in those positions, right? And this is what elevation is also about. So I hope you enjoyed the visible framework. Here's a visibility action plan. Pick one place you will speak up this month. One way you'll be seen, so whether it's a post, a pitch, a panel, a meeting, and one belief you're actively reframing, right? Maybe you've been telling yourself that you're not good at this. I want you to change that. I want you to say the total opposite of it and keep saying it, right? I know sometimes we tend to always overthink the worst case scenario. How about we start overthinking the best case scenario? Because what we think about, there's this saying like what we think about, you bring about, and it's so true. So if you're gonna overthink, I want you to overthink the best case scenario. So think about that. So again, pick one place you will speak up this month. Pick one way you will be seen, whether it's through social media, a pitch, a panel, or raising your hand up in a meeting, and one belief you're actively reframing. Small actions lead to compounding confidence, right? I always believe that you create the big results when you take the small actionable daily steps. And what does that look like? You want to run a marathon and you've never ran a marathon in your life. So you start with half a mile. Start running half a mile. When you achieve that, add a little bit more. Maybe you want to do another half a mile, and then you slowly increase that until you reach the 21 miles, which is, I think 21 miles is a full marathon. But small actions equals compounding confidence. Yielding the big results come from small actionable daily steps. So feel free to screenshot this. You can work on it after, figure that out. But I really want you to start taking action in your own careers, be visible, be intentional, and be in those right spaces. Here's a community reflection. So, this is something you can do maybe after, but you can turn to a partner or have a small group. Share one insight you're taking with you. Share one action you're committing to. Share one way you'll support another woman's visibility. So confidence grows in community. So again, you don't have to do this alone. We can do this together. You're here today because support is important, and that you don't always have to do every single thing yourself. So here's some final thoughts. You don't need to be louder, be perfect, be someone else. You need to be visible on purpose. So I hope these final thoughts can help you out. And if you would like to connect with me, this is my barcode. It'll lead to all my social media, my websites, my books. I also have a podcast called The Top Self-Confidence, where I've interviewed over 800 women on the topic of confidence, and then some other resources like a visible framework toolkit that you can download for free, and then some other awesome stuff. And if you would love a copy of this presentation as well, I've also shared a link. So if you go to this link, sheenayapchan.com/presentations, just share the name of this presentation and I'll have it sent to you straight to your inbox. So I know we have a lot of questions. I'll kind of leave this screen on so you can get the barcode or check out the links. But I hope everyone enjoyed today's presentation. And if anybody has any questions, I will go through the chat first, just kind of see what everyone is sharing. Ooh, I love this, creating a creative meetup in our city, NYC. Sorry, go ahead, Lisa.
No, you're all good. I see we had a couple questions in the Q&A, so I was gonna read some off for you.
Awesome.
So, all right, so go into the Q&A, and then I know somebody asked, for us to go back to slide E, if you fill out that form, as well. You'll get the full presentation, but we'll also share the full pretation with you all as
Yeah.
well. But
Here-
yeah, there we
yeah,
go.
here's E's for elevation. So in our and so this was a slide. So E's for elevation, and it's important to take aligned action, expand your influence, also bring others as you're showing up, as you're leveling up. So yeah. And then I'll go back to the end. And then yeah, if you could read the questions, that would be great. I know the chat's blowing up, which I love, which is awesome. But yeah, if you can read some of them, that would be awesome. And I'll do my best to answer all of them.
Absolutely. All right. So first question, how can I show up in spaces if I'm more of an introvert?
That's a great question. And I think just the action of showing up is important, right? I've taught, I've seen a lot of women who just take action and realize they're the most introverted people on earth. You know, a lot of us think we have to be out there, we have to be loud and boisterous, but sometimes actions speak louder than words, right? So sometimes also having like an accountability person to help you get to that can really help. Like you don't always have to do everything yourself. So like I had a friend who wanted to go to a networking event, and she's a little bit of an introvert, but she really wanted to connect, get some business, get some clients. And I said, I will go with you so that you don't feel alone, and you can, you feel more at ease. And so we went to it together. I would help introduce the people to her. They're able to talk, and she was able to create connections and have potential clients, all because I went with her. Sometimes having someone with you can also help. So that's probably one way I would do it. I also have a friend, her name is Goldie Chan. She's actually written a whole book about it's called it's all about personal branding for introverts. So that could be a great resource as well.
Thank you for that. Next question being, how do you balance showing vulnerability in terms of being authentic without the fear of being seen as deficient? It's a great question.
That is a great question. I think there's something we really need to learn, that we cannot please every single person, right? Sometimes when we show up, when we're vulnerable, there's going to be someone out there who's a keyboard warrior, and that is totally okay, right? Because you're not trying to impress every single person. You just want to show it to the right people, right? Being in those right spaces. So I think when you have pure intentions, when you come from a space of you want to help others, that's how I would share it, right? Like that's how I would, I guess, measure it. I guess for me, I've just been like, everything I do is purposeful. Everything I do is to help others realize their own potential. And so, I move forward because I realize it's not about me. It's about everybody else who's been through what I've been through. And that if I don't show up, if I don't share who I am, if I don't share my message, if I don't share my vulnerabilities, I'm also doing a disservice. So, that's why having, alignment is important. Sharing who you are, learning, working on your identity and things like that. That everything that was part of the visible framework helps you create that. So I hope that helps out.
Yeah, great answer. One other question. How would you advise creating a personal brand around your ethics when that can affect your career trajectory? I feel the need to hide so I don't get fired and end up homeless. That's real.
No, I totally get it. And as women, I get it. We have a lot more to lose than men, right? I mean, we've it's a great question, and um it's also a hard question, unfortunately. I think I think we have to learn to also um trust our intuition. As women, we're very intuitive, and sometimes we ignore it, right? And it's important to practice like working through our intuition, trusting our intuition. And so sometimes what we think in our head might not be what happens in real life, but I believe everything happens for a reason, and when you look back, you will understand why everything happened for a reason. So I hope that kind of helps out. I know trusting our intuition can be the scariest thing, But as women, we're very intuitive. We will know if something is wrong, something works, something doesn't, and it's learning to practice trusting that.
That's a great point. Someone says, I hear folks say to build relationships when networking. How do you network without being pitchy? And what does it mean to nurture relationships when it comes to people you meet via networking? That's a good question. I wonder that as well.
Yeah, networking can be fun and it can be the most uncomfortable thing, right? I think this is why sometimes having another person with you is great, right? So it's kind of like when a guy has a wingman at the club and they want to talk to a girl and they're really shy, they're really nervous. You have your wingman go up to them and be like, "Hey, have you met this guy?" And then, I did the same thing, right? Kind of like when my friend wanted to go to a networking event, I went with her. I would talk to one person, be like, "Oh, have you met so and so? She does this, this, and that." So having a wingman for your networking event could be a great way.
That's a great answer. And something that Adrienne actually brought up in another event that we did was the fact that, sometimes you could bond over something that has nothing to do with what you're networking about. And so meeting people who maybe share similar hobbies as well and kind of connecting over that,
Yeah.
I think makes it less like, oh, I'm just trying to meet you, as a means to an end, and more like you are a person and a human being, and I find you genuinely interesting, not yeah, as a means to an end. So that's a great point as well.
Yeah.
Last question that we have here, or maybe we have others, but I know we have about 5 minutes left on the clock. But nowadays, people talk a lot about personal branding and visibility. It gets to a point that it is overwhelming at times on how to do that. How/where can we start on our journey for brand and visibility?
This is a great question. And yes, it can get overwhelming. I think the most important thing is figuring out who your audience is, right? Who is that person you want to connect to? And then build your brand and visibility around that. So creating that confidence statement, you're telling us who you are, what you do, and who you want to help. And don't be afraid to just even like, um, you know, make it super specific, right? Because when it's specific, you'll still attract the right people. Like a lot of us feel like if we're too specific on the audience that we want to reach out to, we're gonna lose out on a lot of things. That's not true, right? And I know that because I see groups like BTS that like sing and dance in Korean and have a fan base all over the world, where they're topping charts in Africa and Chile, and it's like the most random thing ever. So I think when you're really clear on the audience that you want to serve, you build your branding around that. So I hope that kind of helps out, because when you're trying to um, build branding for everybody, that's when it gets overwhelming. So being clear, being aligned, having that clear message, that will really help out.
Amazing. I see someone dropped like a contact sheet for everyone to stay connected. So if anyone's not paying attention to the chat, definitely check that out. Put in your information if you want to share that and connect with other creators. I think that's such a great idea. Thank you so much for that, Natasha. That was amazing. Another question for networking. Oh, okay, for networking, something that was a game changer for me was shifting my mindset to I'm just trying to make friends. If I gain an opportunity from this connection, it'll be a plus. First, you'll naturally start coming off as genuine instead of transactional. Credits to Leon Noel. Not a question, but great, great point. Love to see
Yeah.
that, honestly. Amazing. Any other questions before we wrap? I'm loving the questions. I'm loving the feedback. I'm loving people kind of taking initiative in terms of connecting in this way. I love to see it. Before we drop in, as people maybe possibly typing additional questions, just want to say, or like reminders, this was recorded. And so if you want to go back to this, we'll have this uploaded within the next 24 hours, probably less, to be honest. Definitely, please, please, please fill out our feedback form. And if you're doing the 75 per quests, the word of the day, the secret word, is visibility, lowercase. And so when you're doing that quest, the quests are located in Discord. That'll be the word. It'll also ask you to fill out the survey then as well. So if you technically already filled it out, the first go, you just have to click the link and then you can exit it out. So just a couple of reminders there. Let me check the chat to see if we have any additional questions. And yeah, the word is visibility. I'll type it in the chat as well. Word is visibility. I'll say, especially, if we want to keep the conversation going, I definitely want you to keep noodling and keep creating these action plans and using this visibility framework. Join the Discord, share what you're working on, share, the ways that you're using this framework. I think that'll be really cool for us to see, as organizers, for Sheena to see, but also for other creators to see, how you're working on being visible and being confident. And then I see a question, where can we find more information about 75 per Discord, etc.? So if you registered formally for 75 per, then you should have some information in your email. But also you can join the Discord. A lot of the information is there. As well, I'll drop in the chat the Discord link, creatorfest.fyi/Discord as well. A lot of the information is there. So if you're not formally registered for our 75 per, definitely do that at creatorfest.com/75 per challenge. And yeah, a lot of that information is there, but also hit us up in Discord and we'll get you a lot of that information too. But email and Discord is going to be the best place to get a lot of that information. Awesome. Any other questions? We have about 1 minute left. If not, I want to say, could we upload the contact sheet to Discord? Absolutely. I'm going to grab that link so I don't lose it, and we'll add that to Discord as well. I think that's a phenomenal idea. Thank you for that, Rama. All right. In which case, I want to say thank you all for showing up today. You invested in your growth. Again, don't forget to submit your workshop quests. Getting on that leaderboard puts you in raffles for like small prizes to kind of, give you a nice high five for continuing on this journey. Don't forget to complete the survey, watch the recording, but also just stay active in the Discord. We'll be doing stuff like office hours and networking events, and I prefer to call them gathering events because I don't want to think of it as networking per se. It's connection. And so definitely join the Discord for that. And also I will see, hopefully, a lot of you on Thursday. We do have our next workshop, which will be around creating an AI agent and working with Gemini and Vertex AI. And so even if you're not technical, even if you're like, I don't know what the heck this is, what this is, give yourself the confidence, talk yourself into it, not out of it before you show up. Talk yourself into it, show up anyway, get curious. This is going to be a really great workshop. So I want to say thank you so much, Sheena, for this amazing, amazing workshop. So glad to have connected with you. Looking forward to connecting with you further. I see, did someone raise their hand? Just in case.
You're right. I think it was a clap.
Oh, okay. Okay, cool. Well, I want to say thank you again, Sheena, for everything. Definitely feel free to send us anything else that you want us to share with the community, but slides, the frameworks, I think will be great as well. And so we'll connect, we'll get that, and we'll share that with the rest of the community. Thank you all so much, and have
Thank you, everybody.
have a great rest of your Tuesday, and hopefully I see you all Thursday, but if not, I hope to see you all in Discord.
Bye.
Everyone.